Hello, hello. LinkedIn Live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and I know I'm forgetting somebody. Facebook. How could I forget Facebook? All right. So just wanted to drop a quick live stream here because I like doing it, and I feel that I'm helping folks. So this is not a book review because I can't get the book yet, but so John Lee Dumas is coming up with a new book. It's called The Uncommon Path to The Common Path to Uncommon Success. You know I don't script these, right? So I just got an email just now about this, and I'm a big fan of John Lee Dumas. I listened to his podcast for years now, the Entrepreneur on Fire podcast. He created his first book, which was the Freedom Journal, which is kind of a, you work through kind of what your goals are, and then that helps you launch it. That his course also on podcasting is basically the reason why and how data-driven exists. And that's why it's been successful rather than kind of hacking at it at my own. And the other thing I want to point out is he actually has been a guest on Data Driven, the one and only John Lee Dumas. So if you don't know who John Lee Dumas is, he was just somebody who was just kind of, not happy with the 9 to 5, not happy with law school. He dropped out of law school. He served in the military. His life story alone is pretty cool. And he really got into podcasting about 8 or 9 years ago. And he really kind of saw the future coming. In fact, I would argue he may have even built the future coming. He built a daily show, a podcast, and he did 2,000 episodes in a row, which alone is an impressive feat. But then he's produced a lot of training and content to help other podcasters, help other entrepreneurs. He's been in movies. Go listen to this episode here of Data Driven if you want to hear that straight from the horse's mouth. But also, he's doing this pre-order thing now with his book. It's not going to be out till March 23rd. But you basically get a bunch of bonuses, and the bonuses are a free copy of Freedom Journal, I believe, Podcast Journal, and I think something else will be shipped to you. And additionally, you get free access to a webinar that he's doing, at kind of Q&A, and a few other bonuses too. If you want to buy bulk options, there's plenty there. So highly recommend it. I don't know exactly what it's going to be in this book, but I know JLD produces fine, high-quality material. So when I saw this come through, I was like, you know what? I might as well just pre-order because something will happen. I'll forget. A shiny object will run by. A squirrel outside will run by. So I decided that I would just make it happen. And I probably should have done an intro. Yeah. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Frank Lavinia. I have franksworld.com, datadriven.tv, and Impact Quantum Podcast. With me usually is Andy Leonard. Andy and I are kind of working on a whole new project that should be very interesting and very intriguing. Hopefully we'll have more to say about that. We have a fancy code name for it. We call it Project Ringgate. So if you're fans of The Expanse, you'll kind of get that joke. All right. So with that, don't have any questions. I'm still experimenting with like what time of day would be the best to stream. And there's definitely, I've noticed a definite pattern. So today I couldn't, just simply because I had work meetings. But one of my goals is, and let me know in the comments if it's important to kind of have a regular kind of cadence or a time to produce this. I know Saturdays I can pretty much guarantee a regular time because that's when the kids are in a class. But as far as any other time, maybe I'll get this worked out. What I really need to know, and I'm asking my network here on LinkedIn is I really need a decent calendaring solution for my family and for kind of scheduling podcast interviews and things like that. Obviously, my work calendar is in Outlook or Office 365, Microsoft 365. What I really need, and my personal stuff is in an Outlook calendar, is in a Gmail calendar. I know, right? So what I really would like to do would have the ability to kind of merge the two, or at least kind of have one source of truth that I can look at on my phone, that I would know that at this point in time I should be doing this or that, and kind of have the two automatically synced. I tried to use Calendly, but Calendly does integrate, but apparently the tenant for work, the Office 365 tenant, is not. I'm not an admin, and it's not approved. So that was as close as I got to that holy grail of having one calendar, because my wife uses another calendar. It'd be nice to kind of have one place where we can sync all this stuff. Right now, it's a lot of text messages back and forth, and me swinging through two different apps on my phone. Granted, in the scheme of things, in the midst of a pandemic, there are worse problems to have. So, but back to the topic at hand. I know JLD comes up with some great content. There's all sorts of testimonials, but I can just tell you from personal experience, this is definitely going to be a book I'm going to review on a live stream. And, definitely if you haven't checked out Entrepreneurs on Fire, let's do that now. Entrepreneurs on Fire. EOFire.com. I would definitely check out this podcast. I mean, there is literally thousands of episodes for you to listen to. Which show is this? All right, well, there's no number on this show, but I do know for a fact there's got to be at least 2,500 shows. So there's plenty of content. You can binge listen. Highly recommend that. One of my favorite podcasts. I'm a big fan of his work. He's done great stuff with the Freedom Journal and the 100 Days, the Mastery Journal, which is kind of 100 days. I haven't done that one. This one I've used extensively. And there's also the Podcast Journal, which I actually had him sign when I met him in person. Him and his partner Kate. So I'm actually afraid to use that. But the Freedom Journal I use every day. It was essential in the launch of the Data Driven podcast. And to be honest, we kind of did an abbreviated version to launch Impact Quantum, which, we launched that podcast in a record-breaking couple of days, 2 weeks. Hey, I have comments. Have I played around with Microsoft Bookings? No, I haven't. But I will this time use the search engine Bing, and see what that's about. I really appreciate that, Thomas. Thomas, you're the man, because if this solves my problem, I will be forever grateful. And when we can all gather in person one day. Ooh. Oh, I like this, because I'm okay with moving my personal calendar to Office 365 on my own personal tenant, which I guess I could run that on my own and sync the two, because I would be the admin. That's actually an interesting idea. Oh, I know. If only Sunrise was around. How's it going, John? So John's pretty awesome. I actually blogged. You did a video about inferring in. Here it is. John's videos on AutoML and ML.net are second to none. So if you want to learn about ML.net, definitely check out John's videos. I kind of retweet them and reblog them here on Frank's World quite a lot. Yeah, infer column schema with ML.net and the AutoML API. Use it daily. I'm assuming you mean Microsoft Bookings and not AutoML and ML.net. But I definitely want to check that out, because I really need to have that. Because Andy and I, here full transparency, right? This is a great example, right? Some days, my days are fully booked, like from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. or later. And all I would need is like a half hour to duck out and do a podcast, right? Or even a live stream. If I just said, every day at this day, I'm gonna live stream, that would be helpful. I mean, it's just I don't eat lunch. I do that fasting thing. But so for me, I mean, I love this. Si, senor. Okay. Awesome. Well, I'll definitely have to check that out, Thomas, because I do have my own private Office 365 kind of account for the house. And I was thinking about setting up kind of like a commercial tenant where my family and I can have like our own calendar. And there's actually a guy who built this. It's a Raspberry Pi based software where you can just kind of like plug a Raspberry Pi in, and it will sync all your calendars, and you can kind of have a digital kind of you know what's happening today, that sort of thing. So I definitely need to solve that, because like the more, obviously now the pandemic, I mean, there's not that many kids activities and things like that, but when things do go back to normal, and they will go back to something that looks like normal. We're not going to be locked up for years to come. Certainly hope not. But yeah. So I thank you for that. I really appreciate that. That was awesome. So I knew my LinkedIn network and my YouTube network would come in handy. So thank you. Yeah, my best of gratitude there. So if you definitely check out this episode, John Lee Dumas is an awesome guy. He has a really great, fascinating story. Go check out EO Fire. I mean, even if you're not interested in entrepreneurship, there's just some really good life lessons here, right? So there was one I remember listening to it, and one of the guests, and unfortunately I don't remember who it was, but it was a few years ago. And the guest that basically was talking about her journey from being kind of in a bad life situation to becoming an entrepreneur. And she basically said the most wisest, profounding thing I've ever heard, and was, what you tolerate persists. And the context was she was tolerating a lot of bad things in her life, and they persisted. And she kind of realized if she stopped tolerating things in her life she no longer wanted or needed, that she would just almost by default change her life. So, and there's just a lot of good life lessons, because I forget who said it, but somebody said that it might have been Patrick Bet David. It said something to the effect of, he he describes entrepreneurship as the best personal development program in the world, right? You'll learn more about yourself. You'll be, because if you can't make yourself better, you can't make your business better. And he said it far more eloquently than one cup of coffee short, but I highly recommend listening to his stuff too. And I've reviewed 2 of his books so far. So, let me know in the comments if there's a book you want me to review. There is actually a book on data governance and kind of data strategy, business strategy, and economics that Pact gave me a review copy. So I'm definitely going to chew my way through that, and I will review that probably my next book review, which will be sometime in the middle of next week. Of course, I'm always happy to review a book I've already read. Last year, I did 62 books, which folks say is impressive. No, I'm just obsessive. I actually targeted 72 books, but so I missed the target. But that whole leaders or readers thing, that is true. You once you get your brain to kind of absorb that more information and get these different ideas from various sources, you'll start connecting dots that weren't there before. One of the books I do recommend reading is called Titan, and it's a biography of John D. Rockefeller. Maybe I'll review that. But that was a really good book. And if you look at what John D. Rockefeller did with oil, you can kind of look around at the tech titans today and see a lot of parallels, particularly Mr. Bezos. There's definitely a lot of parallels, and just some random kind of parallels in his life. Now, is that some deep, profound statement on human nature, or just a coincidence? I don't know. So with that having been said, I want to thank you for tuning in. And if you were here from the beginning, you saw I had a new motion graphic. I'm working up some motion graphics, trying to get my After Effects Kung Fu back up there. So with that, you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. I do always try to at least like and read all the comments and reply to them if there's a question. But feel free to reach out to me on any platform of your choice. LinkedIn is probably the best way to reach me. I am on Twitter at Frank Diggs Data. And I just want to say, have a great day. And you know what? Enjoy the animation that I put together.